Good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic, I don't think we can cover it in 15 minutes, but we'll try our best to cover it in 15 minutes. There is a lot of Q&A, I think will be after this, but if you don't cover it here, we will cover it outside. The topic is very important topic. Might disappoint some of you who's looking for the way of trading or any strategies, but this is more about investment and about the big picture. How is it and where the trend is going? Because of the chip war, the battle for semiconductor supremacy and its global impact. We know that since 1947, when they invented the transistor, since that then, we have all the electronics devices that we have now. Without the transistor, we cannot have a TV. Without transistor, we cannot have a fridge. We don't have a washing machine. We don't have even smartphones that you are taking video with. So that's where it started. And 1957, the Fairchild company, 10 years after that, they form a company called Fairchild. They start producing transistors and chips for the US military devices. So the only consumer for that time, it was the US government. Since that time, there is another one came after that called Texas Instrument, where they produced the integrated circuit. And from there until now, we become having like those electronic devices and moved up to the 5G. And now we have even the AI, and we have the called integrated AI, and also the 5G things and 6G, the one that coming after. Currently, we're gonna cover this part in the main players, the global impact for that, the challenges that we're gonna face, and also how to get out of that one. And what do you think? Is it China gonna win this race or US gonna win this race? The chip war referred to the intense global competition for semiconductor dominance, which has significant implication for technology, national security, and economic strategy. Currently, if we see the technology, the most of the technology and the top technology companies only in US mostly nowadays. Europe, they are a little bit behind, and the Chinese companies are trying to catch up. It's very important for national security, because without the chips, without the semiconductors now we have nowadays, we cannot make many of the military devices, especially the 5G one, which is F-35, and also the nuclear submarines. Economic strategy, because currently who has the biggest company producing chips or using those chips is currently in Taiwan and US. And that's really bring like a lot of billions. The much you spend in billions on investing in those things, still you get a bigger revenues, which is, we can see that lately in Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all of them, they are getting the fruit of the AI. Semiconductor importance. It's currently, I think, without the semiconductors, our life will not be the same. It's really shaped the current life we have. Without the semiconductors, we cannot have cars. And we have seen this during the COVID-19, when the supply chain for the semiconductor interrupted, and we have seen a lot of car suppliers, they cannot produce cars and they cannot deliver cars. So this is how is that important. The geopolitical context, because currently we see that there is a big competition between China and US on who will be superior in the semiconductors industry. And that's like, it will bring some US alliance maybe to the other side, and some of the new players maybe will jump in, because lately we have seen UAE themselves, they have a big discussion with the semiconductors manufacturers. They need to bring them to the GCC area. So this is a big shift. Who is the main player? If you know about the semiconductors, for sure, the main player of the producer and the designer for the semiconductors itself is currently Nvidia, AMD, Micron. All these companies are currently in US. Second one, China, with a big company. They have SMIC. SMIC is the biggest one there in China, and currently trying to catch up and trying to produce chips and produce semiconductors, same like the TSMC in Taiwan. The third one is in Taiwan, TSMC with the sub companies that they have, and also another company called UMC. Those, like, if you can imagine, Taiwan itself only produce more than 70% of the semiconductors in the world. And the super advanced semiconductors by 92%. 92% of those advanced semiconductors produced only in Taiwan. South Korea, with SK Hynix and Samsung, they are producing the memory. More than 45% of the memory produced around the world happens where? In Samsung and SK Hynix. If you can imagine, Samsung is 30% of the GDP of Korea itself. So this is for how big it is. Currently, just to make a big picture for you, there is a designer for the semiconductors, there is manufacturer, and there is chips provider, and there is an end user. Who design? Actually, this is the most important thing. Who can design the chip itself? Because if you know Nvidia, yes, they have their own semiconductors, yes, they have their own chips, but they don't produce it. They just design it, send it to the TSMC, TSMC design and manufacture the thing, and after that, they ship it overseas. There is another countries, they just test the chips, pack it, and deliver it, which is Malaysia, one of them, and there is another country like India happening so. So you can see Texas Instruments, SK Hynix, Micron, Samsung, Intel, those companies, they have a production of design, AMD, Apple. This is why Apple, they don't produce their own semiconductors. Apple, they design only. They send it to TSMC to manufacture, and then Foxconn to assemble the phone itself, which is gonna end up with your iPhone that you have now. There is another one manufacturer, which is one of the biggest there, for sure. TSMC is there, Intel is there, Micron also, with ASML, the most important company currently in the world. ASML, the one in Netherlands, I think one of the companies in the world that are going to be 1 trillion market cap soon. Why? Because they produce the machine that produce semiconductors. And this is a few companies in the world. Another one, the chip provider themselves, which is Nvidia, one of them, and Google, AWS, Micron, and Samsung again. And who is the end user? Is everyone is doing cloud computing provider, which is AWS, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft as well. And also, who is the end user? Might be military devices, might be Apple itself. Those are the end user. Key events. What happened exactly make this race of the semiconductors? What happened is US and China war, which is the tariffs. I think it started earlier, but with Trump, that time, it became a little bit intense, and then they start increasing the tariff, and everyone now, even going to the race in November, they are saying that we will increase the tariff more and more. These tariffs make China depend on themselves. They try to produce everything by themselves. So since we produce and we manufacture a lot of things like cars, electronics, why not we produce our own chips? Why we always depends on US to design the chip and Taiwan to make the chips, and also Korea make the memory for us? Why not we make that one? That's why they supported SMIC, the Chinese manufacturer for the semiconductors. They try to push them to try to get up in this race and try to take a part of this. CHIPS Act 2022. This CHIPS Act in US made around 52 billion, pledge 52 billion to push the big companies to move to US and try to produce the semiconductors inside US itself. Why? Because most of the semiconductors now is produced in Taiwan, and it make them, if there is any supply chain issues happens, then the US will be like left with no chips. Yes, we design here, but we produce it there. So same like what happened during the COVID-19. What happened? Supply chain disruption. So COVID-19 gave us a lesson that you need to distribute the manufacturing of the semiconductors. We cannot just produce everything in Taiwan, 70, 80%, and in Korea and in Japan. We need to produce it in different countries. Same like what's happening now with the TSMC trying to move their manufacturing outside to Germany. They have a factory now in Germany, and they have another factory in Japan, and now they have another plan to make a factory in US itself with one of the biggest investment coming from outside US to US itself. Challenges that we're going to face with this one. For sure, the technology transfer and spawnage. We all know that it's not easy to release your technology because what make you a powerful or a powerhouse in this world is your technology. Without the technology, US is nothing. They are dominating in that one. So we have a technology. We have the latest technology in military. We have latest technology in electronics devices, latest technology in computers and whatever it is. So we are dominant because of that one. Currently, the investment and innovation, this is another challenge we're going to face. Because investment, like to invest in that field, you need a lot of money. You need billions of billions. That's why we have seen Microsoft. They said we're going to invest 14 billion in this field, in the like in the AI field. Google, the same thing. They said 12 billion. We're going to invest in that one. Another one, Meta. That's why we can see the Meta stock, which is Facebook, is all-time high. They said we're going to invest 35 to 40 billion dollar in the AI. That means needs a lot of investment. So who will have that cash to invest more in AI? That's a very challenging thing. Geopolitical tension, with the tension happens now, especially if China try to move to Taiwan, or if you press China from many sides, it might move to Taiwan. That's going to be a big disruption to the semiconductors around the world. And also what we have seen now, Russia with Ukraine still going on. The Middle East is in a big tension with Israel, Hamas, Israel, Lebanon, Israel, Houthi, Iran, Israel. This big thing happening in the region might move some countries to be alliance with another country. Global impact, what's going to happen exactly if these things happen? Economic shift. You will know that semiconductors means billions of profit. If you move it to your country, it will bring another supply chain to your country. India, as an example, in Gujarat state, they ask Macron to move and open a factory there because they know that when Macron comes there, or any company that they assemble iPhone like Foxconn, Begatron, all these companies, when they come, the main supply chain will come there. So it's a good economy. It's a good for your economy. Second thing, it's a national security because if this technology go away from US to another country, those countries, they can produce the latest fighters, jets. They can produce also the latest nuclear submarines, this kind of thing. Innovation race in general. Whenever like we have a tension currently in the world, and there is another country, they have a war with another country, the innovation will be fast, and they will try to get to the top in that part away from what's happening. Per se, like China currently, if they try to produce their own semiconductors and they try to make the best in the 6 nano, they reach the 6 nano already. But if they reach the 3 nano and 2 nano, that's they can make their own advanced chip. Currently, US, they are making sanction on Russia, but Russia, if they find a way to get the 3 nano and 2 nano with China itself, that's going to be another thing. Regional impact. With this, okay, it's time up. We have to a little bit speed up. I think the most producing company in the world for the chips is TSMC, Samsung, and we can see the dominance, 62% for the TSMC and also 13% for Samsung, and UMC, the another Taiwanese company, they are taking 6%, so we can see how's the dominance, Taiwan and Korea. Also, the generative AI, what we see now, the AI and all the information about the AI, we can see the data centers and GPU producers are dominated by 92% by Nvidia and only few by AMD and others. Another thing is the platform itself. We can see OpenAI with 40% almost, and Microsoft 30%, AWS, Google, and other companies. And also we have services, including Accenture and IBM, and also Infosys. These are the producers, platform, and the company producing services. See how big is this field. AI boom. We can see that from 2018 all the way to 2023, last year, we can see the big shift. Samsung, we were dominant here before, Samsung Electronics, but currently we can see Samsung went down a little bit and Intel a little bit up, and we can see in 2023, we can see Nvidia came in. Okay? Nvidia, how Nvidia moved all this way from just producing the GPUs all the way to the data center GPUs. And not anyone, the generative AI GPUs, the one that ChatGPT using now. If you know, the main brain of ChatGPT consists of 2,000 chips of Nvidia. This is when you query anything in ChatGPT, is processed by these chips. So this is how big is Nvidia become dominating 82% of the generative AI chips. That's why Nvidia is very huge, and it went almost 3 trillion market cap. If you see that the movement of Nvidia itself, 2019, they just produced data center GPUs, which is generative AI devices, from 25% all the way to 78%. Currently, 80% of Nvidia revenues comes from the data centers GPUs. Nvidia, this is how big it is. Data center before, it just this size, and it become this size. Lately, they reported in July more than $30 billion profit just from the data center itself. Also, the annual revenues, sorry, just 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes more, 2 minutes more. The revenues also, you can see the big shift from 4 billions all the way to 60 billions. And also the employees, we can see how big shift from 8,000 employees all the way to 29,000 employees. 75% of the latest employees that they got, which is 19,000 employees, just for research and development. So research and development is the main key player. Here also, revenue by region, you can see, revenue by region, the most, I think US, yes, is a big part, but they have China and Taiwan. So the global impact and attention between China and US is affecting the US companies as well. This is how big the AI gonna be, all the way from 23 billions only, all the way to 340 billion in 2033. That means the AI will not stop. As long as this race is happening, the companies will start invest and more, and they will jump. That's why everyone, they start talking about 3 trillion for Nvidia, but we expect 5 trillion in the coming, I think maybe 2-3 years will be that size. This is the new factories that should be in US by TSMC, Intel, Micron, Texas Instruments. This is the distribution. These factories are not there yet, but this is a plan on shifting the semiconductors all the way from Taiwan and Korea, all the way to inside US itself to be a superpower there. Conclusion in this, as long as this race continue and there is companies investing in that one, and there is some countries that are trying to be superpower in that one, this race will continue, and China is trying to catch up. It shows that with the latest Huawei phone with a 6 nano, everyone is talking now they might have 3 nano and 2 nano, but I think they will catch up very soon, maybe 2028 or 2030. That's our social media, guys. You can connect and contact us on this one. And if you have any Q&A, because its time is up, you can have it outside there. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.